Welcome everybody once again. This is Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this chat every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And the goal of our cyber chat is to discuss cybersecurity issues or cybersecurity tips and tricks that are going to help you if you are planning on getting into the cybersecurity industry, or even if you're in the industry already. It is always good to learn more and also to be part of like forum sliders. Forum sliders can also be used or count towards your CPE or CEUs, depending on which certifications that you've taken. If you need anything in terms of certificates to, for paperwork to prove that you've been taking classes, or like you've been doing like continual learning in the cybersecurity industry, we can provide you that as well, right? So we appreciate everybody's time. Like I always say, Friday nights, you could be relaxing, doing something else, but you chose to be here with us. We appreciate your time, and we always try to make it very informative. So you are going to gain something obviously from it. And we are building the Eretmis family, gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the goal is to make sure that you become a very successful cybersecurity professional. If you're already in the profession, grow to become the best cybersecurity professional that you can, be. And we are here to support you. Frankly, all intents and purposes, we are here to support you. We have Eretmis Academy, that is a cybersecurity training institute. We are a business, but our goal for this chat is not predominantly to promote ourselves, but to give you information that is really going to help you out, right? So we appreciate your time. We will start. So last week, we started, if you're not here last week we started off with how to prepare for cybersecurity job, like the job preparation, and also for interviews, right? So we discussed a lot, and we were at the point of discussing interview questions and some of the tips and tricks and how to, set up your resume and, like the type of skills that you need, your soft skills and your hard skills, and how to combine those, right? And so we're running out of time. We didn't want to go way overboard because we try to keep this at an hour at most. But, last week, I think we did almost 2 hours because it was an interesting discussion. And a lot of you were bringing really good points, right? And pointers. So if you're on here, if you didn't go to like a cybersecurity interview, you did some other interview and you have some tips and tricks that are that is going to help the entire group, please bring it up, right? Because we don't have all the answers. I mean, we will give you some of the tips because we are industry players, we are employers, and we also train students. So from what, we see from our perspective is what we're given, right? And I can assure you, we are going to give you some really good tips. So without wasting much time, we are going to continue with the interview prep. And to introduce myself to everybody who is not familiar with me, I'm Dr. Edu. I call myself the big uncle in cybersecurity and in the Eretmis family, right? I'm here to support. I'm here to support you regardless whether you are a student of Eretmis or not. Our goal is to support you and make sure you are successful. So please reach out if you need help, if you need advice, if you need to talk about, careers in cybersecurity or anything cybersecurity. I can talk cybersecurity all day, okay? And I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc. Eretmis Inc. is a cybersecurity consulting firm based in New York, and we also run Eretmis Academy, right? So it's not just the academy, we also run Eretmis Inc. That is a cybersecurity consulting firm. One of our specialties is PCI DSS. We do PCI audits. I'm a QSA. We have other QSAs, and we have other people who help us with the audits. And I mean, we do anything from states, contracts, government, federal, and also corporate. But there is more money on the corporate side. I mean, state and government, they have like the longevity of the money, but like the corporate side will give you big cash, right? But we do all, right? So name it, we do it. But one of our specialties is PCI, and that is one of our babies. Now, maybe probably we were thinking about doing something on PCI next week or next 2 weeks, just to educate the cybersecurity sphere more about PCI and what PCI professionals do. What are some of the jobs that are out there? Is it an area that is good for you, right? So we might probably be coming up with something like that, take you through some of the areas of PCI as well, right? But today we're just going to continue with our job placement, sort of job placement side of the house. So we will jump into job interviews. Last week we started with the interviews, right? We were talking about how to prepare for interviews, cybersecurity interviews specifically. And some of the things that we talked about, the 4 main steps. I mean, there is not only 4 main steps, there can be more than that, depending on how you're looking at it. But from us, we just simplify it and make it 4, right? First thing that you have to take from this is there is no second chance to a first impression, right? And during interviews, your first encounter, you must try to make it good, right? Because you wouldn't probably have that chance of getting that opportunity to make that first impression again, right? So the goal is to make it count. Now, how are you going to make it count? Preparation is going to be very key. And how do you prepare? We will revisit that again. And then we also look at before the interview, what are you supposed to do? During the interview, what are you supposed to do? After the interview, what are you supposed to do, right? So these are the areas that we'll be looking at. And then we will look at some questions as well, right? So preparation. So preparation is at a stage where, maybe you took some training somewhere, you've been doing self-study, or you went to college, you are done, you are looking for a job, right? From some of the people that I talk to, or people who are not our students, who are like approach you, I've been to this school, I've been to that school, I couldn't get a job, and I'm having, hard time. I ask them just one question: what job titles are you looking for? Or what job title exactly are you looking for? And mostly they don't know. 9 out of 10, they don't know, right? And knowing the job titles within the industry or within the sector that you want to go into, it doesn't take experience working in the industry to know. This is just, like a phone away, right? You can use your phone to Google cybersecurity job titles. There is going to be a list, right? Read about them, know exactly what they are. Now, you probably went to college, you did some training, or you came to a school like Eretmis. I mean, once you are done with us, or before you even start the course, we take you through job titles, right? So you know some of the job titles, and okay, they're like the ones that might suit what you're looking for. So, but the first thing to know is, okay, what job titles am I looking for, right? Somebody will come to you and they will say, oh yeah, I did this training, I did that training. If I didn't train you, I don't really know what you know. So I'll ask them, what job titles are you looking for? And they will go from, oh, I think I can be a cybersecurity analyst or a penetration tester. And I'm like, did you do any penetration testing? Or how do you even, like, what is your understanding of what a penetration tester do, right? So these are some of the problems that you might run into if you are not well prepared, because you might probably just apply for any cybersecurity job, and during the interviews is where you're going to find out exactly what that job role entails, right? So if you are not well prepared, if you are, you know exactly what job titles you are looking for, what job roles you are looking for, right? And 2, as part of your preparation, salary. Most interviews, as soon as they get, I mean, for you to get past, sometimes like the recruiter or like the gatekeeper at HR, first thing they will ask you is, how much are you looking for, right? Because they don't want to continue if they can only pay you 90,000 and you're looking for 250, right? Because that is going to be a waste of your time, a waste of their time, right? So first, they will ask, most often they will ask you that. Some companies wouldn't, they will push you through to probably the 3rd interview before they ask about money. But for good practice, most of them, they don't want to waste their time. So they will ask you, how much are you looking for? So you should know how much you're looking for in terms of hours, in terms of salary. And with this, you can also do, your own research about it, right? So for whatever job title that you're applying for, and also for the company, mostly if you do a little, Googling around, sometimes the job sites will give you an estimate, like an estimate of maybe probably this job will be offering you 110 or 95 or 150, right? So if you do your research and you see roughly what maybe probably a security analyst is supposed to earn, the national average, and also for the company, you've seen maybe what they are willing to pay, right? When they ask you how much are you looking for, you say something within that range, right? Maybe plus or minus 20,000, right? But if you don't do your research, you might probably say something too low or say something too high, right? And you don't want to be the girl or guy who will say, oh, I want 160,000. And they are like, okay, like the highest we can give is 95. And you're like, oh, I'll take it, right? They're not going to give you that because they know you are just, how are you going to take a pay cut of almost 70,000? That is really questionable, right? And that also shows that you are too desperate. And two, maybe probably you are just taking it because you need something for now. When you do get your 160, you're just going to leave them, hanging. So just do that research, know how much you are looking for. And this is not really hard to do. You'll be able to find it, right? If, let's say, you really don't even know how to research or anything, if you are on the job site, and you are looking for maybe probably like some of the job roles, cybersecurity specialist is what you are eyeing. Go to other job sites and see what other companies are paying for in terms of that, right? And always you can, good rule of thumb, you can always go to look at the national average. So the Bureau of Labor, they have statistics for how much. I think they have one for information security analyst that is like 110. That is the average or mean for the country, right? So with that, you can, plus or minus 20, yes, plus or minus, or just plus 20, or, plus or minus, but you don't have to go below, maybe probably below 90 or 85, right? So also benefits, what benefits are you looking for? So if you don't have, so like most of like the military folks, right? Some of them, if they get out, they still have some form of healthcare. Maybe probably if they retired or they were separated for some medical issues, they might have it. So if you are one of those and you don't need the medical side of benefits, then you can probably push the salary up, ask for more because you wouldn't need this. If you are not in that boat and you really need it, then also see that the company is offering that, right? So mostly it's not just the money, like the take home that you have to concentrate on, but the overall package, okay? And then working environment, you can also do your little research on that. Most of these job sites, they have ratings where people who have previously worked in these industries, they will rate and talk about it, right? And now, in this day and age, if you're a company and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, people can leave bad reviews and you can't delete those reviews. They are going to be there, right? So if it's not going to be a coincidence if maybe all the 20 people who work there and left are complaining about something, right? So you have to pay attention to that as well. So although probably their money might be good, but they have a very toxic work environment. So, and because you really want to break into the industry, or if you're in the industry, you want to, get the next height. That doesn't mean you should take maybe 180 and then, go to a place that you're really going to hate your life, right? So that is a really bad advice. And then also, which industry do you want to work in? So we put this on there because some people might be coming from the financial industry. You can turn around and easily go back to the financial industry as a cybersecurity professional, and you do much better during interviews than maybe me, who is not in the financial industry, right? Because they want somebody who understands your language, not just somebody who has the technical knowledge in terms of cybersecurity. So you can also choose and pick which industry you want to work in. But mostly, if you are starting off, what you'll be doing, regardless of which industry, you still be doing cybersecurity stuff. So I wouldn't really limit myself to any industry, but if you you want to go that route, then still, right? And the last thing that you can do in terms of preparation is transferable skills, right? So transferable skills, I was talking to a lady today. She was asking me, I'm a nurse. So if I get, training and everything, and I'm ready for the job market, how is that going to translate, or what am I going to say to my employer? I used to be a nurse, but just now I'm a cybersecurity professional in 6 months, right? So that is where we talk about transferable skills. Now, in any job or whatever you've ever done in your life, right, there are some skill sets that easily can be transferred to other industries or any other job that you are going to do, right? And these are mostly your soft skills. So soft skills, your management skills, your interpersonal skills, your marketing skills, right? Presentation skills, influence, because there are some people, they always get the job done, right? Maybe probably the department has to go talk to your CEO of about maybe getting some extra money for something within the department. I mean, your main boss will go and he probably tell him no. But there's somebody who can go and they know how to talk their way through, and all that is a skill, right? That is needed. Now, I think last week I was talking about, so if, let's say just maybe Dr. Edu, all that Dr. Edu is saying is BS, right? How do you find out that these transferable skills are actually a thing in cybersecurity? I always love everybody to do their own research, right? Because we point you in the right direction. Go and do your research and also find out. So just go around and on these job sites, look at the job descriptions for information security analysts, like GRC jobs. And I mean, most cybersecurity, even if you type just cyber jobs, there's going to be like a whole list that comes out. Now, just take your time, click on some of them, and read through what they are looking for, right? You see that aside the technical, mostly they will list for the skills that they are looking for, or for what they are looking for in like the potential in the potential person that they want to employ. They will list all the technical skills, and then in that list, you will see good presentation skills, good like communication skills, good team playing, good team player, right? And like all those play a very critical role, right? Please give me a minute. If you look at that, if you go through all these job descriptions, you will see that they all have soft skills in there, right? Because like we looked at last week, in cybersecurity, we are looking at two set of skills, your hard skills and your soft skills. So your hard skills are mostly the technical cybersecurity knowledge and skills that you are going to gain. Your soft skills are your leadership, managerial, interpersonal, presentation skills, and all that, okay? So soft skills, they play a vital role because they are easily transferable from one industry to the other, right? And probably when there's, if there is time, once we go through some of the questions and stuff, we can take a look at maybe one or two job descriptions, and then everybody will understand exactly what I'm talking about, right? So if anybody tells you whatever skill set that you have coming into cybersecurity does not apply and everything is just technical, it is really untrue, okay? So because you have some soft skills coming in, if you add a little bit of the technical skills, right? Now you have to apply for jobs that are not, if like you want to, depending on how well you are vested in the technical side, you can choose to go on a route where like the balance between the two is almost equal, or even the soft skills is a bit, on the higher side. So because there are a lot of cybersecurity jobs that what you are going to do is not really going to be as technical as you might, think it is going to be. Okay, so yes, let's move on. My video is off. Yes, because of the presentation, it was giving me some issues, so it is off. I'm going to turn it back on when we are doing the questions and answers. Okay, so we also looked at what are you bringing to the table. So before the interview, right, now you've done your preparation, you know exactly what you're looking for, how much money, what, or like which type of your skills are transferable, and so you are positioning yourself well. Now, also ask yourself, what are you bringing to the table, right? Because the interview that you're going to, the employer understands only one thing, or they hear only one language. How are you going to help them? It's not about you, it's about them. So this is what if you don't take anything away from this session, just always remember that your employee, your employer who is going to, or your potential employer who is going to give you that opportunity to work, they are more selfish than you, right? So they don't care about what you want, they care about them. So during the interview, make sure that you are speaking to what they want, not what you want, okay? So we will get to that when we get to like the questions and answers part, how to answer the questions and stuff like that. So what you are bringing to the table, we are talking about your knowledge and your skills and your abilities you are bringing to the table, right? So if you read your job description, you can ask yourself, which of these do I know? What can I do? What can I, based on this and based on the organization's mission and vision statement, how will I be able to help them to get from point A to point B? Okay. So, and then also as part of your like preparations before the interview. So this is when you've had an invitation for an interview. One, there are the transferable skills key. We are still going to talk about it here. You have to, based on what they've listed, right? You should be able to identify, okay, I think with presentation, I used to do this when I was doing like my master's program or in my job. We used to, do presentation to our bosses and stuff like that. So all those are skills you have. I used to work in a team, so I'm a good team player. I used to be a team lead here. All those are going to be, some of the skills. So if that is something that you're looking for, make sure you are jotting all those down, right? And when you do this during the preparation for the like when you are doing like practice for the interview, right, it's easy because you know what they are looking for, you know what you are bringing to the table, so you can speak effectively to that. Okay. Now, also one of the very important things that you have to do before any interview is you have to know the company more than whoever is going to interview you. Even though they work in the company, I bet you can know more than the company than them. So make it a point, even if you're not going to know anything about the company, know their vision and their mission, right? So what they do and where they want to get to in the future, right? So their mission statement and their vision statement, for that you should know, because that is also going to help you in answering your interview questions. Or even if they ask you like a straight question, what do you know about our company, right? You wouldn't be caught off guard, right? Because at least you took time to read or learn about the company, because you don't want to go into an interview and they ask you, what do you know about our company? And you are just stuck. Why would you want to work for a company that you don't know anything about? It's like, why would you want to marry a guy or a girl that you don't know anything about, right? So look at this kind of in that lens, and you have a better appreciation of it. Because either than that, then they just think you are just coming there just because you just want a job, right? And although you just want a job, but you shouldn't, make it look like, so be so obvious that you just want a job. Okay. So, and then the last thing that you have to do is how can you help the company to achieve their goal or like their future aspirations? So if you don't know much about the company, you wouldn't know where they want to go, right? And granted, you are not the CEO, you are not the one who is going to come up with, but the little that you are doing in terms of helping to protect their cyber infrastructure, that is going to help them to get to their goal. Because every organization is in business for money, except for non-profits, right? But for them to be able to effectively make money and have their peace of mind and concentrate on business, they have to be secured on the cybersecurity side or information security side. Okay. Because you don't want to be the company who is always in the news every 2 years because you were hacked. And, like hackers are demanding $10 million and you are going back and forth and you are in the news all the time because your stocks are going to go down if you are, being traded publicly. Like the confidence that your customers have in you is going to, go down. If you are a small to medium company, you are probably going to go out of business in 6 months because statistically, small to medium companies that encounter a breach, right? 68% or so about go out of business after 6 months. So if you are not a really big company, even big companies will suffer. If you're a small to medium company, you don't want any of that, right? So if I'm looking for a job in such a company and I'm able to speak to that, that is going to look good on you. And the last thing before any interview is rehearsals, right? So you have to rehearse, and rehearse some more. Or you have to practice, and practice some more. So with that, we will jump into the interview. So during the interview, what are you supposed to do in terms of how do you answer your questions? How do you carry yourself? So like I was talking about appearance, there is no second chance to your first impression, right? So if it has to be in person, the interview has to be in person, please dress appropriately, right? So you don't overdress or underdress. So normal, like just formal, any form of like formal dressing will be good. And I think everybody on here knows what like formal will be. So even if you don't know, just if you're a guy, maybe a long sleeve shirt and like a trouser will do, and a shoe. I mean, like that will be okay. And like for the ladies, any dress, that you look, like decent will do, because appearance also count, right? During interviews, there is nothing like don't judge a book by the cover. They judge the book by the cover, right? So you have to make sure that like the cover is nice. Either than that, they're probably not even going to open the book, right? So they're not even going to, give you that audience to really pay attention to the answers and the knowledge you are bringing to and the skills you are bringing to the table. They'll just probably just look at you and, everybody has their own like stereotypes, right? So you should make sure you are on the right path, right? So be professional. Now, don't overthink questions. So most questions during interviews are not trick questions. If you really understand how the interview process goes, which we are going to talk about, right? Questions that they ask you, every question they ask you, they're asking you for a reason. There is really no trick to it. You just have to understand where they are coming from in terms of what they are looking for and their main agenda, right? So their main agenda is they are trying to see that if you have the skills and the knowledge, that will help them to stay secure, right? Because we are talking about cybersecurity. So if you overthink the questions and you think every question is a trick question, you end up maybe answering it wrong, right? So mostly if you prepared well during the interviews, mostly that is not the place for you to be thinking about how to answer questions. You should have done that prior to the interviews, right? Prior to any interview that you are going to. At least you should have some questions that you've practiced on. And so you can easily, if you are well versed in, all these questions and you've done some practice, it's very easy for you to, any question that they'll ask you, for you to really flow really well, right? But if you didn't practice, most questions are going to catch you off guard. Questions as simple as, tell me about yourself, will catch you off guard. Now you'll be talking and talking and talking. You don't know when to stop, right? But if you practice and you practice well, simple questions like, tell me about yourself. Why did you move from Virginia to New York? It's not going to be, talking in circles, right? There are ways to answer all those. We'll talk about that. Now, show some level of energy, right? Show some level of energy. Nobody wants to work with the girl or the guy You come to work Monday morning and how are you doing, John? Yeah, I'm good. Right? You want somebody who is always, up and happy. When I was in the army, we had this sergeant. He was one of my sister platoons, the platoon sergeant. Every single time he's happy and smiling. When he sees you from even like 600 meters away, happy Friday, sir. I'm like, this guy, every day is either happy Monday, happy Tuesday, every day is happy something. And he's like genuinely always like happy, right? It doesn't mean he doesn't have problems. So if such a person goes into it, but he actively tries to, do that. If he goes into an interview and he's showing that energy, right, as opposed to somebody who is very knowledgeable and very, knows his stuff in and out, but his energy is very low, right? Nobody would like to deal with a person like that. So regardless of whatever mood you are in, you have to psych yourself and, go smiling, happy, and mostly like a trick to interviews, to everybody going to an interview should have some level of stress, right? I mean, regardless of who you are. Even like the person doing the interview, when we switch chairs and now you are interviewing them, right? So it's good to have some level of, good stress. Now, how to ease yourself out of that is mostly when you get to interviews, you have to, talk first, try and establish some like pleasantries. So how are you doing today? Like how is good weather? I mean, bring something up just to lighten the mood. And that was really going to ease, some of the tension and the pressure. And, now you'll be ready for the interview, right? But at least show some energy, right? So some enthusiasm there is going to help. Now, how do you answer interview questions? In cybersecurity, maybe some technical questions like, oh, what SIM tools are you familiar with, right? Don't just say QRadar and just wait for another question. Because if you say just QRadar and wait for another question, the follow-up question is, how did you use it, right? And then you're probably just going to give one answer. Oh, like I use it to, look at like the security posture, so like the dashboard.
Oh, I see somebody was walking.
So the point that I'm sorry about that, I was trying to mute. So the point here is that during interviews, what you're trying to do is every question that you answer should have the interviewer jump 2 or 3 questions, right? Because you answer it so well, you answer other questions, follow-up questions that they might have, right? So we call something the STAR method. It's not, we didn't invent it, is there, right? Interview, like some of the best interview like practices is always, and even for you to, not even just for interviews, but if you have to do any presentation of any sort, and you want to really show that you know what you are doing, it's good to go with this formula, right? So we call it the STAR method. You mostly will talk about like what situation you were in, the task you were supposed to accomplish, the action you took, how you accomplished, and then the results that came out of it, right? So let's say if a question like, tell us about how you led a team, or if like have you worked in a team before, right? Instead of just saying yes or no, you can give a situation that you were in a team, and then a task that you and your team were supposed to accomplish, the action your team took, and the results that your team had, right? You see how this will help you to, now you are not just showing that you've worked in a team, but you are also speaking to the fact that you are a good team player. You are also showing to the fact that you are a good team player, that, I mean, your team, you were able to accomplish the task that was given you. These were the actions you took, and the results that you had was good. Rather than just saying, yes, I worked in a team, or in my previous job, I used to work in a team, right? So the STAR method is going to make you look good, rather than somebody who is just giving 1 answers or 1 and 2 answers, right? And just leaving it at that. So this will, they will skip 2 or 3 questions if you answer all your questions. So the STAR method is not limited to the technical side or the soft skill side. You can use that to answer any question, right? So this method will help you to also come up with scenarios that maybe you've not really sat down to analyze, right? Everybody on here has worked in a team of a sort before, right? But if I put you on the spot and I ask you, did you work in a team? Like, what did you guys do and what happened? Now you have to think. That doesn't mean you've not done it. You've done it, but now you have to think and really, come up with it and talk up. But if you've prepared for it, right, you have those scenarios. Oh, so this one time that we had to go do this, it was 4 of us in a team. We did this, we did this, we did this. This is what we accomplished. Now you have that scenario down. You have another one. You have another one. So during the interview, if they ask you a question like this, you have everything prepped already. You are just giving them the answer. So during interviews, you have to be there with answers to present. That is not the place to be thinking, because the thinking doesn't mean you've not done it. But if you don't come prepared, knowing exactly some of the stuff they're going to ask you with, the type of answers you are going to give, then because during the interview, guess what? Some interviews might last for 4 hours and stuff like that. But even for those that are going to last for that long, you don't really have that luxury of trying to recall things that you've done in the past and stuff like that, right? So you have to go in there with a lot of scenarios already under your belt. Now, another thing, during interviews, the last thing you want to do is to answer a question you really didn't hear well. Okay. So if you didn't hear it, there is no problem asking, please, can you repeat that? Because if you answer and you answer it wrong, and now you realize, oh, this was what he was asking about or she was asking about, there is no going back, right? Because they might think you've just thought about the answer again and you want to redeem yourself. So this is a very easy fix. If you didn't hear it, you didn't hear it. Don't assume or think for them. Have them ask it again and then you answer it. And then also, like I said, come to the interview with the answers and solutions. That is not the place for you to necessarily think. If you come with a lot of answers and solutions, even questions that you didn't prepare for will be a bit easier for you than, coming a bit unprepared in terms of what answers you are going to give. Okay? And then also at least come with 2 questions for whoever is interviewing you or like the panel, right? Because those 2 questions will relate to their workplace and what they do, right? That will let them show that you've actually did your research. You've looked into their company and what they do. Okay. Now let's get into the questions and how we'll be able to answer some of these questions. So these are sample questions for an interview with a job title, Information Security Analyst. Okay. So for an Information Security Analyst, so some of the general questions they will ask you, what salary range are you looking for? Right. So maybe I'll say, I'm looking for anything between 100 and 120. I mean, like that is okay. 100 and like 20,000 difference. If they give you 110, you are good. 100, you're okay. Maybe somebody might also see that to be maybe too wide of a gap, but frankly, I don't think it is. Right. If I say 100 to 160, then it's too wide of a gap. Right. So 100, 110 or 120 is fine, or 90 to 110. Like the gap is not that crazy. Okay. And then also you should know how much you want in terms of hourly wages. Okay. So knowing your yearly is good, but break it down and know your hourly. Because if you don't know your hourly and maybe probably they tell you they're going to give you $35 an hour and you are happy, maybe that is not going to be up to your 100 you are looking for, right? So just know your hourly rate as well. You can easily just, do some small math and break that down and have what you are looking for hourly. Okay? And then also in terms of salary, one thing that we teach our students is some companies will try, or some companies might want to look at like bringing you on as a 1099 contractor. or they'll, employ you as a normal employee of the company. So that will be a W-2 and a 1099. So if you don't know the difference between that, and, in terms of your tax obligations and stuff, please look into that. So 1099 and W-2. So W-2 is a normal employer. The company will pay, half, I think, or some percentage of your taxes and your social security. You're also going to pay your part of your social security and your taxes and stuff, but the whole burden is not on you. With 1099, they're just going to give you the money, and then you have to figure out your taxes and stuff on your own, right? But so depending on what you are looking for, if they are giving you maybe 90,000 for W-2, 1099 should be way higher because you'll be paying your own taxes on that money, right? And if you are an employer, so if you're let me just give you some background for you to understand it well. So if an employer is paying you $100,000, the cost of payroll to the employer, when it comes to just you, it's not $100,000. It's probably like 130. When they add all the taxes and social security they have to pay on top of whatever they are paying you, it's probably going to be like 130, right? So if they are going to incur 130 and they give you the option of paying you 120 instead of 100,000, but they're going to pay you as a 1099, and you're happy to take it, guess what? You're going to be running at a loss, because now you'll be paying yourself almost 80,000 or 85, because the rest of it is going to go into taxes and social security. Okay, but they save themselves $10,000, right? So just, it depends on what you are looking for, and then like what you, it all comes down to what you are really looking for. So choosing between W-2 and 1099, it depends on what you are really looking for. Some people just want to be contractors. Some people want to be employees. Okay, so look into that, please, if you don't know the difference between those. And a question like, so one question, tell us about yourself and your previous experience, right? So if you're already in the industry, tell us about yourself and your previous experience. You'll be tempted to talk more about what you've done, and what you are doing in your current job, and all that is good, right? If you are trying to break into the industry, with the example that I gave, you used to be a nurse. Are you going to talk about what you used to do as a nurse? Or what exactly are you going to talk about, right? So a way around, tell us about yourself. And if you don't practice this question, this is not a technical question, but it's probably going to make or break you during the interview. Because some people will just go on and on and on talking about where they went to school, where they took security class, and all that is good, but that is not what they are looking for. I told you, employers, they only understand one language, how you'll be able to help them, right? So although they care about what you've done at whatever job that you used to do, their main goal is, what are you going to do for them when they employ you? So tell us about yourself. Always tell us about yourself to the job description, right? Everything that you are going to say, everything that you're going to say should be in relation to what they are looking for, okay? So if, first off, maybe I'm John, I'm a cybersecurity professional, I've been working in the industry for this long, or I'm just, looking to break into the industry. I've done this training, that training. My specialty, or like my skill sets, like my most dominant skill sets and knowledge is in this area, right? And whatever area you're talking about should be in relation to what they are looking for. Because if they are looking for somebody to be their risk analyst, and all you've done is maybe your training was all in penetration testing, you should be able to really break down what skill sets in penetration testing applies to this, right? Either than that, if you just say, I'm a pen tester, they are not the ones who are going to figure it out and figure out how pen testers can also, what skill set that they have that is going to make them successful as a risk analyst, right? So you have to be able to, whatever skill set you have, tailor it to match what they are looking for and speak to that. I hope that makes sense to everybody, right? I mean, if we are looking at like a specific job description, then we can really go deep and, you know, be more specific and talk about that, right? But on like in general, it should just be tailored towards what they are looking for. Okay. And another question, so these are general questions that will mostly get people. Why should we hire you over other people or other equally qualified candidates like yourself, right? And this is where you make your money when it comes to doing your research about the company in terms of their mission and their vision, right? So if you know what the company is all about, what they are looking for, or where they are looking to get to in the future, you will be able to speak to that, because you will speak to that in the sense of this is what you think they are doing, or like this is their mission or their goal, and also speak something similar. If maybe your goals align with what they have, you can also speak to that. And then where they want to get to with my skill set and knowledge in this area, I will be able to, you know, maybe probably, let's say you are being employed to handle their risks, you know, I will be able to handle the risks in such a way that it is not going to be a burden or a headache for the general business aspect of the company. So that area will be able to focus on building the company to get. So that is how you'll be able to. So if you are speaking to that, then it means, okay, this is what you are bringing to the table. This is what you know about the company. You'll be able to help the company to get from point A to point B. So that is what qualifies you more than anybody else who is there. Regardless, if you are speaking to this, somebody might be there with more experience or more knowledge than you, but they're going to hire you, because they are not just looking for more experience and more knowledge. They are looking for people with solutions, and they are looking for people who are going to help them to get to where they are going to, right? So they don't want somebody with all the knowledge and all the skills, and they've been working in cybersecurity for 15 years, and they ask him, why should we hire you over other people? Oh yeah, because I'm the most qualified and I have this and I have this certification. Other people have the same certification. So why should we hire you over somebody else, right? If you don't prepare for this, I'm telling you, you're going to be stuck. Now you are thinking, okay, what answer is wrong? Which one is right, right? There is no wrong or right answer, but the trick is what I've just shown you, right? Speak the language the employer understands. Other than that, everything else that you're saying, they are just nodding, but they are not really listening to what you are saying, right? And why do you want to work for a company? This is similar to why should we hire you over, you know, somebody else? So why do you work for the company? Same thing. If you know about the company, you can speak to that. So I know your company, you do A, B, C, and D. This is your mission, and this is your vision. So this is where you want to be, like where you want to get to. Maybe probably you like what the company is doing, or your personal goals also align with the goals of the company. So that is one reason, something that is going to attract you. Like that is where that is something that is going to attract you to the company, right? So whether that is what is really attracting you to the company or is their money, nobody really cares, right? It's up to you. But you have to make them know that this is why you want to work for the company. Please don't tell them because your pay is good. That is because your pay is good, it's going to benefit you, not them, right? So, like I said, always say something that's going to benefit them, not you. So, although their pay is good, their package is. But if you speak to that, then you are being selfish. But guess what? Your employer is more selfish than you. So you have to help them to be more selfish, right? So speak to what they want, not what you are going. If you give them what they want, you're also going to get what you want. Okay. But if during interviews you are just going to speak about, oh, the pay is good, and I think it's going to be what most people will say is going to be a good, I'm going to gain more knowledge and I'm going to gain more, like build myself in terms of, you know, growing in the car. You think they really care about you growing in the, like in the cybersecurity field? They don't. What they care about is what you're going to do for them, right? So, why do you want to work for us? Don't say it's a good learning environment for me to. No, it should always be to what the company, where the company wants to go and how you'll be able to help them to get there. Okay. What do you know about that company? That is straightforward. If you didn't do your research about them, you'll be stuck. And the funny part about this is if they ask you a question like this and you don't know, it means one, you don't pay attention to detail. Because for every job description, the first portion of it, they write about their company. Eretmis Inc. is a consulting firm, a cybersecurity consulting firm based in New York. We do A, B, C, and D. This is what we, so if you skip that and you just want to look at the job description and apply for it, and during the interview, I ask you, what do you know about our company? And you're like, oh, I don't really know. I mean, I was waiting to get employed to know about it. It means you really don't pay attention to detail. And paying attention to, or attention, the skill of attention to detail is a critical skill in cybersecurity. Very critical. I mean, I'd rather have somebody who pays attention to detail than somebody who is very, who has a lot of technical knowledge and skills and years of experience, but then simple things are just going to pass them by without them knowing. Because in cybersecurity, it's a very simple and easy things that will, make or break the company, right? Yes. So attention to detail, one of the best or one of the critical soft skills that is needed. So during the interview, they are not going to ask you, do you pay attention to detail? But questions like these are going to show whether you pay attention to detail or not, because it was, even knowing about their company, you don't even have to Google it. It was part of the job description, right? So if you go to the interview with no knowledge, then it means, you just shot yourself in the foot, right? So how did your previous employment end? I think we talked about this extensively last week, but the best answer to this is your contract just ended, right? Or is about to end, because regardless, when they employ you, you're going to leave your previous job anyways. So your contract will end at that point, right? Now let's go into soft skills questions. The ones we looked at were general questions, right? Let's go into soft skills questions. So example of some of the soft skills questions, give us a scenario where you led a team to accomplish a mission, right? It'll surprise you. People who want to get into the cybersecurity industry, some people think all this is BS, is not important. Well, I wouldn't write this off, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. It'll surprise you. You go to an interview and all they're asking you are soft skills questions. And you think, oh, but this was a security analyst or risk assessment analyst. But why are they asking me all these soft skills or like questions that doesn't really, bother on the technical aspect of cybersecurity? Because the technical side is not all that they are looking for, right? Because mostly some of the technical stuff, they can easily train you on it in a week or two. Now, if you are not a good team player, I don't know how long it's going to take you to be a good team player, right? And they don't have that luxury to be paying you for 3 years to try to wait for you to become a good team player, right? So soft skills are hard to measure and they are hard to master, right? So for some employers, that is more important to them than even your technical knowledge in cybersecurity, right? So give us a scenario where you led a team to accomplish a mission. Now, this is where the STAR method of answering questions come in. So give us a situation, task, action, and results. Now, when you're answering a question like this, right, you shouldn't go by, okay, the situation was this, the task was this. This is just to guide you to answer the question. So you give them, so an example of how you can answer such a question is, so let's say I used to work in Eretmis Inc. We are a consulting firm. So one of our clients approached our company that they needed a SIM solution to help them stay on top of their security posture and to overall maintain a good cybersecurity program in their company. So I was part of a team of 4 that was put together to do some market research on which SIM tool product will best fit the needs of our clients. And so now in this scenario that I've just given, right, the situation is what? Our clients needed a SIM solution and a team was put together. The action or the task for the team is to come up with the best SIM tool that is going to best serve the need of our clients. Okay, so that is the task the team is supposed to do. Now, I can just also speak to it. So I was appointed the team lead. Okay, so first off, I met with the team first day. We discussed what exactly we were supposed to do, and we broke down the action in terms of what we were going to execute by responsibilities and assign everybody a responsibility. So all of us, we were supposed to search around and come up with at least 2 SIM products that are out there, do our analysis on them, and then, you know, show the pros and cons of both, and also relate to the business aspects of our clients to see that if this is going to be like a good fit in terms of what they are looking for their business, right? So we came together again after 2 weeks. We were given 2 weeks to accomplish this. We came together in a week. We shortlisted 3 products. We were able to talk to the vendors. They did a demo or simple. So like the demo standing for demonstration, they demonstrate to us, showed us how their system works. And we settled on 2 main products, which was maybe Splunk and Kill Radar, and we presented it to our clients. And our clients, we walked them through exactly how these products work. And our clients chose, they wanted both, but in terms of price, maybe Splunk was better for them, so they chose Splunk. So you see how I started from a situation, tax, the action we took, and the results. And what was the results? Our clients to this date, they are always very appreciative, and they can't thank us enough because we've helped them to really, now they have a very high overview of their security posture, and alerts of incidents that are happening, like alerts of incidents that are happening are easily sent to them, and they are on top of their security program now, you know, than they used to. So they are very happy about it. Okay, so see how the question of give us a scenario where you led a team. So mostly they might not even ask you, give us a scenario. They might ask you that, but they will ask you, have you worked in a team before? I can still answer the same way. So you see, I might have done this in my organization, but if I don't take time to really put them together as to how I'm going to say it, what I'm going to say first, and structure it that way, I might try to talk about it, but I'll be all over the place. Because guess what? During interviews, you are nervous. You know, there's a little pressure there. So you might end up talking and you think you didn't explain it well. So you have to talk more to explain it better. And before you realize, you just been talking for like 10 minutes about some simple thing, right? But this is, I hope everybody is getting something out of this, right? A way to answer this question. And that makes it, so I didn't really flow the whole length because I wanted to break it down into sessions for you to understand how to go about answering these, right? So like this, somebody might be asking, but you know, okay, so good for you, Dr. Edu. Maybe you work in Eretmis and you were a team leader and you did this. What about me? I never worked in any cybersecurity setting. So I didn't do anything in this situation. Well, how am I going to answer this? At least you've worked somewhere, right? If you worked in a team, what did the team do? What were you guys doing? So it doesn't necessarily have to be cyber related. And also still, what you are talking about, if it was in a different industry, you can take the technical aspect of it. Because if you are speaking to the technical aspect of what you are doing, then you are shedding more light on, let's say maybe it was like in nursing. And you are talking about like, you are using nursing jargons and like the medical term, you are going to lose them, right? So sit down and take out the technical side, you know, of it. So if you guys, so in the same vein, like what I said, maybe the product wasn't to choose as a SIM tool, but it was to find maybe a good, maybe EKG machine for our hospital. Maybe that is what you did for a nurse, right? Like your nursing team. So instead of saying find a good EKG like product, I'll just say maybe get like I'll just go with a product and leave out EKG. But there's a way that you can say that for it not to be too generic or like too I don't know like the word for that, but you know, whatever you are saying should be, it should be substantial. It should be practical. It shouldn't be too generalistic. Like they needed something and we did something and then the result was good. And I didn't really say anything here, right? What was the something? How good was it? You know, and which did what something? Okay, so you have to be specific. You have to speak to specifics. But when it comes to teams and how you've worked in teams and stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to just maybe cybersecurity area, okay? Because I mean, people always have that notion in their head that, you know, to break into the industry, you like, if I don't have that experience, how am I going to speak to that, right? But there is always a way to arrange it and to speak effectively to that. Okay? So yes, now let's go to the second one. We are not going to go through and answer all of them, but we're just going to give some pointers on it. That way we are, I think, like 11 minutes over, but we are going to touch individually on that. So, and we'll also jump into the technical aspect real quick, right? So give us a scenario where you sold a C-level executive on your idea or some idea for your department. How did it work out? Same thing, situation, task, action, results. Right? And this, you have to come up with your scenario. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, maybe you didn't deal with a C-level, but you dealt with your manager, right? So the question is saying C-level, but if it's a higher level manager or just your manager, that is still good. You can still use that as scenario, right? And always your results should be good. If there was a situation where your results was bad, please don't use that example. Use example that your results was good, right? How do you lead a team in a high tempo environment, right? So this, you can also speak to how you led a team in a high tempo environment. So the example that I gave, right? This example that I gave here for the first one, I can use that same example, but now the twist to it is that whilst we were put together in a team to work on finding a good SIM product for our clients, at the same time, all of us in the team, or me, who was the team lead, I was also in charge of finishing an audit that was due in a week. That is a high tempo environment. I'm like, literally have to break myself into two and do this and do that, right? But then still, guess what? I was still able to lead the team to accomplish the mission. See how that makes you look like a rock star, right? So in a high tempo, so but all these you have to prepare before. You can't just, if you do it for a while, now you have some of it under your belt and you'll be able to easily switch, you know, around. But if you are starting off or, you know, whatnot, you just have to practice and, you know, make sure I will even go to the extent of writing them down, right? Your scenario, so your situation, tax, action, results. And now when you are saying it, you're not going to say it situation, tax, but you're just going to say first one, knowing in your head that is the situation. And if you practice enough, it's going to come easy. Okay. Give us a scenario where you handle the team conflict. So this is big. How do you handle team conflicts? Most people will go like, oh, you know, I'll talk to the person or the people involved in the conflict and try to understand what the problem is and try to, you know, solve it amicably. If it's not, then I'll be nice to this person. And all that is, you are just talking for talking sake. I tell every people who I've talked to during job preparations, I tell them always come from a point of knowledge. So how do you handle a team conflict? There is concepts and lay down principles of how to handle team conflicts. So you have to learn that first before you can add your own twist to it, right? So there are a list of or different schools of thought on how to handle team conflicts, right? Some school of thought will say use they have like a concept where you are literally just going to ignore the concept, ignore the conflict, but that is not what you're going to do here, right? And there is one that you're going to handle it head on. There is another one that you're going to, so that is a very simple information that you can get. But my point here is that Don't answer these questions just because you think you know how to talk. What is the science behind handling team conflict? What are the concepts behind it, right? And then also one thing that everybody should take away from here is look into team formation. There are different stages and there is a science behind team formation. If you know the stages in team formation, you know exactly where team conflicts are abound, right? Where a lot of conflicts are in a team. Because you have to know team science. And this is not to scare you or to make it, just Google it. You see, okay, team conflict, you have like formation, storming, norming, and then when they have at the like achieving level, at each of these stages, there is something that goes on within the team. Know them, right? And then how to handle the like team conflicts. There's also like a list. If you know these, and they ask you how do you handle the team conflict, you first have to come from the point of knowledge, and then you can, you know, digress and go into whatever you think you'll be nice to this person and talk to them nice. And because if you come, because everybody else is just going to be talking the same thing, I'll be nice and see how I can handle it and talk to this person. And that is what almost everybody at the interview is going to say. But if you are coming from the point of they are looking at you like you are some team, you know, like some team building expert, they're like, oh, wow, this guy really, or this girl really knows his stuff, right? So that is going to be the differentiator between you and somebody else who is just, who didn't probably prepare for this and just talking, right? Because they are just talking, right? They might be more technical and have more experience than you, but this is probably going to make or break them, right? And I bet you there are some of our students on here who got jobs because they were able to answer these questions well, right? At least if I think I saw one on here, I'm probably going to call her out. She landed her job because she was able to answer these soft skills questions very well, right? So next one, how would you handle a delinquent team member? So somebody who is not playing ball, they are part of the team, but they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That is still about team conflict, right? So being able to handle team conflict, you can speak to this same thing. Give us a scenario where you use your presentation and communication skills to explain a complex cybersecurity concept to non-IT management personnel, right? This is also a key skill in cybersecurity. If you go to management and you are just talking your cybersecurity jargons and cybersecurity this and firewalls and this, that, they are really just looking at you, but they can't hear you, right? Being able to break concepts down into simple terms for non-IT or cybersecurity people to understand is a skill, right? And you know, you should be able to speak to that. Same thing, situation, task, action, results. What was the situation? How did you, what were you supposed to do? What was the action? What was the results? Okay. Now let's go to some technical skills and then we'll wrap it up for today. Okay. So example of some technical skills that you might encounter for a security analyst. What are some of the frameworks that you are familiar with? Now, frameworks, if you don't know what frameworks are, then you run into issues here, right? But this shouldn't be a surprise question because on their job description, they will list that you should have a working knowledge or you should be familiar with this framework, that framework, that framework. So maybe probably PCI, DSS, HIPAA, NIST 853, or NIST RMF, or the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, or CIS controls, or ISO 20. They will list all those there. And mostly they will list exactly what they use in that company, right? So if you overlook it and they ask you such a question and you are there like, or if maybe they listed ISO 2701 and maybe a CIS control version 8, and they ask you what frameworks are you familiar with, and you're talking about PCI DSS and NIST 850, you just shot yourself in the foot because you don't know what they want, right? I mean, you know some frameworks, that is good, but it's not what they are looking for. So it means when they employ you, they are going to run into issues because you don't know these frameworks in the first place, let alone how to implement them, okay? So the answers to most of these questions are in the job description. Please take time and look at them well. And most of these are not going to come as a surprise, okay? Now I'll give us a scenario where, and also with the frameworks, you don't have to be a master of any of those frameworks. You need to have a working knowledge, right? So know enough about them to talk intelligently about them. Nobody can master all the frameworks. I can tell you that on authority. Okay, even the ones that you use like on daily basis, you might know a lot about it, but I'm telling you, you are not the master of it. Because if we take the framework like the printout and stuff, you'll be able to, because you've been using it for a while, say a thing or two about some of it, but we are humans, you might forget some of it and stuff like that, right? So you have to have a good working knowledge, right? So for most of the companies that will just list like a bunch of frameworks, they don't expect you to be an expert in all of them, but they expect you to have enough working knowledge or even where to find them and know exactly what they are and what they are for, okay? So, I mean, that is the way around frameworks. So give us a scenario where you implemented a framework in your organization. Same things, tax, situation, tax, action, results, right? So whatever framework you're familiar with, you can speak to that, how you implemented that and how that happened. Now, mostly to answer these questions, for somebody who has never worked in a cybersecurity setting, right? Maybe depending on where you had your training, or if you are doing self-study and you are just reading this stuff on your own, I really, maybe if you just want to stretch the truth, or if you want to stretch yourself a little bit, I mean, you can still speak to that, but mostly for somebody who has not really had that exposure or has not had anybody with that exposure explain exactly how this works, answering this question will be a bit hard, frankly, right? Because just speaking what you read in some book is different from if you've actually done it. But also, if you have somebody who has done it and they've explained to you and you try to mimic that, that can also help you to speak effectively about this. Because if I told you how it is being done and I kind of showed you and you practiced, it's the same thing that you're going to be doing, right? So if you speak to that, they'll be able to know that, oh yeah, this person can do it, right? And how do you reduce the cyber risks of an organization? So this is an open-ended question. And it should still be related to what the organization is looking for, because there are so many answers that you can give to this question and you'll be right. But if your answers are not directly in relation to what they are looking for, you are not going to get it, right? So let's say they are looking for a security analyst, and maybe probably this company, they are a software company, okay? So for software companies, how do you reduce the risks of a software company? Just off head, OWASP top 10 is where you make your money, right? OWASP top 10 is where you have all the threats that, softwares encounter, right? The top 10, and this is like a research that is done in the industry. They update it, I think every 2 years. So how do you reduce the risks of the organization? If you know maybe at least one or two of the world, or you can just, if you don't know them by list, you can just talk about, using that as a starting point to identify, some of the, like the most common vulnerabilities that are out there or that might be associated with the software your organization is using, and also know some of the threats that can take advantage of these vulnerabilities. And, based on that, you can do your risk assessment and then, go into your risk management area. Now, this question has some twist to it as well. Without being very specific to the organization, right? You should have a very good understanding of cybersecurity, risk management. So before even risk management, you should understand what cyber risk is, right? Risk, like, have a better understanding of what do we really mean when we talk about risks in cybersecurity? What does it entail? So for anybody who is not familiar with it or doesn't know, when we talk about risks in cybersecurity, two main things that we're talking about here is vulnerability and threats, right? So vulnerability being weaknesses in your system, threats being agents that can take advantage of, or like dangers that are out there that can take advantage of your vulnerabilities, right? And we have something we call exploitation. So if your threats exploit your vulnerabilities, there is a risk. Or if there's that likelihood for it to happen, then that is what we call risk. So if you understand these fundamentals well, and you understand risk assessment and risk management, you'll be able to scale this question easy, right? So, and you don't have to, it's just the fundamentals. If you understand them well, and you really understand how they all work, together, you'll be able to scale this question easy. Okay, what security controls are you familiar with? So it should be, are you here? There was a typo. Are you familiar with? How did you apply any of these controls? So countermeasures or like security controls. So we can look at it from different angles: identity and access management, from security architecture, from cryptography aspect, encryption, and all those are security measures and countermeasures. Security awareness training is also a key security control, right? And you can also look at just purely security controls or access controls as well, right? So there is no one way to answer this, but because we don't have a job description, that is why I'm saying like the general stuff. If there is an actual job description, this has to be tailored to the job description. And when you read the job description, you know exactly what they mean by which security controls. They might have some security controls listed on there that they are looking for, right? So you can speak to that rather than just saying other ones that are good controls, but that is not what they are looking for, okay? What SIM tools are you familiar with? Now, with everybody on here, and before you go to these interviews, please make sure you know the tools, right? So you don't necessarily have to know how to use all of it, but at least you should know them by grouping, right? So when we talk about vulnerability scanning tools, at least you should be able to name maybe some of the top 3 or top 2 brands that are out there. SIM tools, you should be able to name at least top 3 or top 2 brands out there, right? If you talk about like SAW tools, you should be able to name top 3. GRC tools, you should be able to name at least top 2 or top 3 and know what they are used for, right? I mean, port scanning tools, you should be able to name. Don't say, oh, I don't have the working experience, or I don't know. Working experience is not going to let you know the tools. I can, tell you that on authority. Because when you get to the organization, and that is if you're able to even scale the organization, scale the interview without knowing the tools. If they are an organization that uses a lot of tools, you have to let them know that you know the tools before they can even let you into the door. Now, if for some reason they don't interview you and they just employ you because you are that cool, you're going to run into issues because now they have all this list of tools and you think somebody is going to take their time and every day take you through step by step how to. No, they are not. They are just going to tell you this is this, this is this, we use this for this. Okay, so go do this. That's it, right? So make sure you know your tools, right? And mostly for some of these tools, they have community versions, which are free, right? That is what we normally use for hands-on training because some of these tools are expensive, right? I was trying to get one for Eretmis and they were quoting like license of almost like 65,000 a year. Like, okay, chill out. Okay. I mean, I have other products that I can use. I just wanted to know, right? Some of these tools are expensive. So, and some of them are gracious enough to have community versions to help people like yourself, and, students and people who want to get into the industry or familiarize themselves with these tools, right? And also it serves as a way to market their like products anyways, right? So you can download those free ones, practice with it. And some of the tools also have like some tutorials on it and stuff, right? Although it's not going to really dive deep into how to use it, but at least how to move around, that is enough to say that you have a working knowledge of those tools, right? So before you jump, for anybody who is just doing maybe self-study, and before you just say, oh, I passed 2 certifications, I'm good, let me go get a job. Please don't go to interviews and you're going to look like, who brought this guy here? Because you don't know any tool, right? And you are not familiar even with like brand names within the tool, right? So you have to familiarize yourself with that. Now, how do you execute an information security program? And well, by the way, we have hands-on training that will take you through the tools, right? So you can take a look at that if you are interested in that. So security, information security programs, how do you execute that? I mean, that is also one of the questions that you can use STAR method to answer. What risks and compliance tools are you familiar with? Same thing, going into tools. what are the greatest, and also with these, with the tools, I want to go back onto that real quick because it's very important. So with the tools, if they ask you which SIM tools you are familiar with, if in their job description they name some SIM tools, please look those up. Even if you are not really, you work with other ones and not those ones, look them up and try to familiarize yourself with it, because that is what they want to hear, that you know how to use the ones that they are using, not some other tools that are elsewhere, right? Or because if, let's say, they are using QRadar and you are used to using, or you know how to use Splunk, look up QRadar, see the interface, how it is like and stuff. So you can say, oh, I have a working knowledge of QRadar, but I'm very familiar with Splunk. They will take that, right? Rather than just not knowing anything, okay? And how do you implement security programs, information security program? Now, this is, mostly this will be a little bit above the pay grade of information security analyst. Maybe not, depending on which level, if it's a senior analyst, right? But you can also say how you help an organization to implement a security program, right? And then with the tool, same thing. What was the greatest cyber risks to your previous organization and how did you handle it? Same thing. If you don't, so this, it can be from any organization that you work for. It doesn't have to be from a cybersecurity organization, right? So, and if you didn't encounter anything like that, I mean, at least every organization will have some encounter like that. So maybe it is not going to be as big on that scale, but even the ones that you think are very petty, they might be big, because those petty little things, that is what is going to lead into the big thing that is going to help attackers to breach the organization, okay? So I think this will be the end of, so let's run through this real quick. After the interview, most people, do I have to call them back to see if they said they'll call me back on Tuesday, but they didn't? Mostly right after the interview, just send like an email acknowledging that you appreciate their time and everything like that. So just brief and short and simple, like they should have like a very pleasant day and you're looking forward to hearing from them, right? So very simple. So after that, they might probably also, like when you send it, they might probably also say, oh, thank you also for showing up and blah, blah, blah. Now, if they don't, they tell you they are going to respond back to you on maybe Wednesday and they didn't, right? Unless, of course, you have another job offering, but you really like these people, so you want to hear what they have to say first before you move ahead. Then you'll be able to, I'll say, like, I'll reach out and be like, hey, you said Wednesday, any updates? If not, me personally, if they say they'll call you on Wednesday and they didn't, I'll right after the interview, I'll send them something saying that I appreciate your time, but after Wednesday, if they say Wednesday and they didn't, I'm not going to call them, right? Or send them an email. I'm going to wait for them to, reach back, because if I did so well in the interview and they are crazy about me, guess what? If they said Wednesday, they will call me Wednesday, or like they will reach out. I hope everybody gets my point. I'm not going to be the one running after them, so, but after the interview, just for pleasantries and for good, practice, just send an email saying that you appreciate their time, because at least they gave you that opportunity to have that interview, right? But the time that they told you they're going to reach out, if they don't, please don't be in a hurry to reach out and ask them every 3 days. Oh, so like, what is going on? It makes you look desperate, right? And if you do so well in the interview and you made everybody look so bad, they will reach out, because for interviews that you do so well, when they say we will reach out on Monday, you did the interview on Thursday, I think by the end of Thursday or early Friday, they'll send you an email that, hey, this is the offer. Please sign it and let us know, right? But maybe if they are taking longer, it means they are interviewing other people. So just relax. It is going to work out. And mostly for whatever interview that you go to, it shouldn't be the end of your interviews. Just keep pushing like you didn't even do that interview. Don't be emotionally attached to any interview that you go to, right? That is how you keep yourself down and you just, quench your fire. So it's just a normal Tuesday, you've done with the interview, pretend nothing happened, move on to the next interview, move on to the next interview, move on to the next interview. If they pick you, fine. If they didn't, the main point of interviews as you are moving up and getting closer to your dream cybersecurity job is that the interview is serving also as a point of validation for you to validate what you know in terms of skills and knowledge. And also, two, you are learning about the industry and what exactly they are looking for. So that also helps you to test that wherever you had your training or whatever you know, if it is relevant or it's just, or it's not relevant, right? And two, you are learning about the industry and what tools are they looking for. So, you know, how do I position myself for the next interview, right? So don't look at it like, oh, they didn't pick me. I did 4 interviews already. I'm going to give up. Well, if you give up, I don't think there's anything after. I don't know anybody who gave up and somebody came and knocked on their door and they're like, oh, John, you know, we're so sorry. We frustrated you, so come and work for us. No. If you don't, if you give up, you're not going to win. But if you keep pushing, there is a job in cybersecurity for everybody. I can promise you that, right? But from every interview, you have to get better and better and better, because now you are building your confidence. 2, you are learning more as you are doing the interviews as well, right? So look at it as a learning process, not a destination. So if you do 1 or 2 and they pick you, that's fine, right? If not, just keep pushing. Your job is there waiting for you. So identify areas that you need to improve. So during interviews, once you're done, just make a quick note. Okay, I think I really didn't do well on this question. Let me research into it. So you always have to prep, use all those bad interviews to prep yourself. That way, when you get to your dream job, you're going to be a rock star in that interview. Okay, so, and that will be the end of the interview sessions. We might probably have like a couple of ones out there and probably do like a real like job description and then go through some of the questions and answer them, right? That way, everybody will really be able to put together whatever we discuss here in perspective. Okay, I think there are some questions in here. I'll look at it. Will hands-on program teach major tools? Okay, so Vicky is asking, will the hands-on training teach the major tools needed to succeed in cybersecurity? Yes. So that is the simple answer to your question. And Francis is asking if there are some interview sample questions and answers. So we have sample questions. We don't have answers because the answers are not set in stone. So we will normally teach you how to answer it and have you come up with scenarios. So we are actually teaching you how to fish, not just to give you the fish, because we cannot anticipate all the questions they're going to ask you. But if we teach you how to answer these questions and structure them and, and you do more practice on it, I mean, then no question is going to be off limits for you, okay? And there was one from Ephraim. I was not able to attend last week's session. Can you please provide a replay? Yes, Ephraim, if you go to our YouTube channel, we have it on there. So all these all the cyber chats that we've had, they are all on our YouTube channel, right? So if you go there, last week's date was what, 17th, I think. If you go there, we have it by label, like 17th cyber chats. But we'll still send it out together with the one that we are sending out maybe today or tomorrow, right? So I appreciate everybody's time. I think we are way over time, so we are live for some few questions here and there, and then we will wrap it up. Yes, for the night. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much. So if anybody has any questions, they can have the floor, and we will answer those questions, and then we will wrap it up for the night. And next week, we're probably going to come up with maybe, something on the lines of the framework. So our next goal for the cyber chat is to start looking at the individual frameworks. First, we will start with explaining what frameworks are in cybersecurity, or those standards and the different types, and talk about them and different. So at least if you don't know about the frameworks, at least you have an idea what it is used for, what types of frameworks that are out there, right? So that is the next chapter that we are moving on to. Okay? So if there are any questions, please let me know, or if you have any contributions or you want to add something. Either than that, please go ahead and take a look at our, Crystal said, good evening, Crystal. Take a look at our Facebook page and also our YouTube. We will post all these on there, right? And if you've not taken any of our training, also take a look at our website, Eretmis Academy. I promise you, we have something on there that is going to help you out. And for anybody interested in the PCI training, the next one will probably be starting somewhere in August. We'll push it out also and do some more education on it. But we're really excited about next week's. We started a new one and it's going to be a really great class. Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for attending. Next week, same time, we'll be meeting and we'll be discussing about, some frameworks. So I can promise you that we'll be talking about frameworks and we'll be diving into the different types of frameworks that are out there, right? So please make it a point. Also share to your friends and family and anybody that you think might be interested in this, right? This is a platform for us to learn and grow as cybersecurity professionals. So I appreciate everybody's time. I think Isaac has his hand up. Please go ahead, Isaac.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Doctor, for this moment. It is always a learning experience. So I had a contribution and also a question.
Okay,
I'll start with the question. Last time, someone asked a question about if you can work on something that actually helps us kind of like go through mock interviews, either whether it's you asking us, like you play the part of the prospective employer, and then you see how different members are answering. Like it could be smaller groups, like 5 people or 2 or one-on-one. And also we get to ask you some of the questions that we have for the prospective employer, like why do you love this company, so that we can kind of like I think it would be good training for someone who is actually preparing for an interview. Someone asked that question last time, and
yes.
I think last month asked about the same thing.
Yes. So to add to that, I think I even spoke to that last week. So we have something in the pipeline, right? What we are going to do is, how they have like debate clubs. We are going to have something similar, but ours is going to be the interview club, right? Where we will meet and then do interviews. So we are going to be in groups. And I think last time when they brought this up, I said like the same thing, but it's just time. We've not had time to really plan it out. So in groups, and then their group leads are going to be people like Isaac. So Isaac went through the same process. He's working now, right? So people like Isaac, Noah, Sheila, and others who are working, they were in your shoes if you are looking for a job now. The lender also had a job, so so we will group you guys in groups, right? And then we would go through, give you guys like a real world job description, and you guys will prepare, and then we will meet and do interviews based on that job description, right? So you can choose somebody in your team. So there's going to be maybe a team of 4 or 5, and then there's going to be like a winner every week for each team. So during that, when we are asking the questions, it can be 1 or 2 people answering it for each team. And then if you win or lose, everybody is making notes and understanding how to, and everybody will get their chance of going through. And even within the team, they can do their own little mock interviews and stuff. So I think that is something that we want to set up, that we just want to start it and drop it. So a little planning is going to go into that. But really good point, Isaac, really good point. But we are working on that. Right.
Yeah, thank you so much for laying the light on that. And the contribution that I had, it is something simple, just to add on to what you actually mentioned. A little OSINT doesn't really hurt, like if you are applying to this job, it's very, very critical that you do some research about the job and about the hiring manager, the people that are going to interview you. If you know prior to, it's always good to do some research about them. I researched about all the people that I was going to interview with, and I got to know their positions, how long they've been with the company. And so when it came to the questions that I had for them, I asked my manager, because I saw that he had been with the company for 10 years and 8 months. So I asked him, what makes a person like you stay for more than 10 years with this company? I was trying to find out the working culture of the organization, the mission? Does it, as in, how do you stay with the company for more than 10 years? So he was actually surprised that I knew he had been with the company for that long, and he gladly gave me an answer. But it's because I did a little bit of intel on him and the company, and it makes you look good. You kind of like shine, like you've done your due diligence about this company. You're really interested in the company. You go the extra mile. That's the contribution that I had to make on top of what you said.
Great point. And I think like most people agree with that. And I think, like you said, that is going to really set you apart, because most people, if you have any questions, no, right? So if that shows that, oh, wow, this guy even looked me up and I'm the one interviewing him, right? So that makes you look good. And if you go head to head with somebody who is probably even more qualified than you, they'll probably pick you, because now they like how you think and how you approach stuff. So great contribution. I appreciate it as always. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Linda.
Thank you, Mr. Edu. Mr. Edu, one thing I've realized with the interviews is that you have to, like, the questions are very practical. So you have to really know your material. So that's what I want to let everybody know. Like, when you're reading your notes or your slides, don't just glance through them and you think the slides are just a few slides, so hey, I'm just glancing through them. You have to internalize what the material, what you're learning, like really know your stuff, because they're not going to ask you things like walk me through categorization. No, they're going to ask you in a practical way. So that's one thing you have to have in mind. And also you have to have like something in mind, a story in mind to tell them. If they ask you like where your previous work environment, maybe you just tell them, hey, I like what the Haitian guy, I used his example in my interview and it worked. Like everything he said, the day you interviewed him, he said they supported Ministry of Department of Transportation, blah, blah, blah. I just used literally everything. And that is what made me stand out. Like they kind of like believed me that I've done this for so long when I've never done it before. So you have to have all those things and take this cyber chats every Friday seriously, because it can really change your life, because it changed my life. So I just want you guys to know that. And thank you, Mr. Edu, for everything that you do. So make sure you know everything on your resume. You know your resume, like take your resume line by line and make sure you understand everything. So sometimes they'll ask you questions based on your resume. They're not even going to ask you anything based on the JD. It depends. You can never predict how an interview is going to go. Sometimes they're going to ask you questions about the JD too. So you have to know everything on the JD. If you don't know anything, just go Google it and research it and know a little bit about it. So when they ask you, you'll be able to say a little something. You don't need to know everything, but at least have an idea of it, So that's how everything goes. And make sure you guys connect as much as you can on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. So don't underestimate it. So that's all I have for you guys totonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Linda.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Edu.
I think you owe Kenny a bottle of wine.
Yes, that's the name, Kenny. I tried to, connect with him on LinkedIn, but I couldn't connect with him.
Okay.
I don't know. His LinkedIn is set up some type of way. So Kenny, fix your LinkedIn and let's connect.
Yeah, and for everybody listening to, Linda is not our student. So, but Linda was able to get a job through being on Cyber Chat and learning from the interviews we were doing with previous students who are working, in the industry, right? And I also like connected. So she reached out. I gave her some pointers. I spoke to, I think, like a recruiter on her behalf, even also.
Yeah.
So I mean, and she's not enrolled in any of our courses. So when we say we are really here to help, it's not just some gimmick just to try to help people enroll in your course. Oh, it's really not. We're really here to help, right? So if you want to put in the work, you want to do do that leg work yourself also, because a lot of effort will be also from your side. we are here to help you. Some of the information you are hearing is really going to help and change your life like it did to Linda, right? So frankly, we are here to help. An hour or two of your time every weekend just to listen to, you know, good, great information for free. I think I will do that all day, right? So thank you very much, Linda, for your input. Fred is asking what certification does Linda have?
Mr. Edu, I have Security Plus.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I have a question down. So if anybody wants it, I'm gonna give it out to you guys. Just
so that is not. Yeah, I mean, like for that, we'll even talk about that later. So that should be just. People get in that habit of just using like practice tests and memorizing it and pouring it. Practice test is supposed to help you challenge your knowledge and to see how well you understand the concepts, right? Not to, because if it comes to just passing the exam, I don't think anybody on here will fail any of the exam. If they have like the practice service question and answers, just memorize it and go write it, everybody will pass. But as to what you really know, that is where the problem is, right? Because on the job, it's not going to be, what is this? A, B, C, D, choose one. It's going to be what you know and how you'll be able to apply it. And also to speak to what Linda was talking about, whatever you learn, ask yourself, how am I going to implement this how am I going to implement this in an organization? So employers are looking at like for somebody who can actually implement whatever knowledge and skill that they have, not just memorizing or having like a bunch of knowledge that you cannot implement for anything, right? Or to do anything, right? So if you are learning about maybe cryptography and you're learning about like the different types of encryption and symmetric, asymmetric, this needs 2 keys, this needs 1, all that is good. It's good knowledge. How do you use that? That is what you have to ask yourself on the job. How do I use that? And you have to research into that and find out because it's not just memorizing stuff and having that knowledge. So knowledge is not power if you cannot implement it. So knowledge is only power if it's knowledge that can be implemented. And you, whoever is having that knowledge, you know, knows how to use it and implement it. Oh, okay. So official job title, Linda also put it in there. So Linda is a cybersecurity engineer. Okay. How about recruiters? How do we tell good offers or recruiters good route to go for job search? So for recruiters, mostly what a trick to, so if we talk about recruiters, we have recruiting agencies and we have companies with their own recruiters, right? So mostly you have like a lot of these recruiting agencies reaching out to you and trying to make sure that you are good to get you to a company, right? Some of the recruiting agencies are good. Others will just waste your time, right? Some people who are working in these like recruiting agencies, how many calls that they make and, you know, like how many people that they present is how they get paid. So they will just be reaching out and even jobs that you know you don't qualify, oh yeah, it's good, just put it on your resume and send it to me. If you are doing that, you are wasting your time because what they are doing is just to make up for their numbers and get paid. You're not really going to get any response or any like favorable thing from them. Now, how to bypass these recruiting agencies and the ones that are bogus and whatnot to get to the main companies. If you go to any of these websites, Indeed and those, and you are looking for a job and you see a job posting on there that you like, look at the company, and then what you can do is don't apply it on LinkedIn or don't apply it on like those websites. Go directly to the company's website. It will be listed there and apply it directly through the company. If you do that, your resume will get to the HR or the recruiter there, and you'll be able to at least have that FaceTime with them and do an interview and whatnot, rather than some recruiter somewhere who is not going to be the one necessarily employing you, wasting your time and going up and down, you know, with some just time wasting gimmicks, right? So that is a way to cut around some of these recruiters. But for recruiters in the companies, you have to, I mean, obviously work with them before you get to any of the people who are actually going to hire you or that you're going to work for, okay? So that is a way around it. Maybe probably other people also have some other, but that doesn't mean all like recruiting stations are bad, right? I mean, they're also there to help you to get a job. Most I mean, some of them who really know what they are doing, they are good, right? They will help you, give you some different, interviews and stuff like that. But mostly with the ones that people will be calling you from other places and you can't even hear what they are saying and whatnot. Those ones, please don't waste your time, right? Because what they do is they also go to LinkedIn or they go to the job sites. So if maybe it's Nike, they'll go to Nike's website, pick up some of the jobs they posted for cybersecurity professionals, and then they will turn around and post it on the Indeed, right? So if you apply to those jobs, everything comes to them and they will screen you. And if they think you're a good fit, they'll present you to Nike. If you scale the interview, they get paid, okay? But if you go there because some of the recruiters will ask you, are you sure you didn't apply for this job through any other recruiting agency? Because they don't want to look bad, present you to present like the same resume to like the company, whilst other recruiting agencies have presented you previously or before, right? So that is how, like, what will let you know that they are the ones who are copying and pasting from other. So why don't you also just, if you see that is good, but you can jump them and go straight to, and some of them might not even put the name of the actual company who is going to employ you on there, but you can do a little research and find out, right? If you just copy and paste like a portion of their job description, it's probably going to pull up like the company's website because it's the same word for word. You just did the copy and paste, right? So that is a way around it. All right. So anybody has any more questions or contributions, or we're just going to wrap it up? Okay, so I have my LinkedIn on there. All the details are in there. So please, you can take a look at it. And I think Crystal, yeah, so Crystal, you can reach out and we'll talk behind the scenes, okay? I appreciate everybody's time. Have a great weekend. And I think Linda's hand, no, it was up before, okay? A great weekend to everybody. Hopefully, God willing, next week we'll meet same time and do some more cyber chats. I appreciate everybody's time. Have a safe weekend and a blessed one as well. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night.